Franti. I also serve on the Arlington County Board, so I've got a name tag and then a nameplate below. Welcome to Arlington, those who are not Arlington residents. All of you, welcome for an opportunity to engage. I'm an alternate on the Metro Board of Directors. I'm joined by colleagues on the dais. I don't believe there are any elected officials in the room. And I have with me not Metro board members, but Metro leaders in our Chief Financial Officer, Dave Reichert, and Jennifer Ellison, Metro's Chief Board Affairs Officer. Thank you both so much for being with us this evening. This is a public hearing on Metro's proposed fiscal year 2027 budget and the fiscal year 2027 to 2032 capital improvement plan. It's convened by the Metro Board of Directors to gather public comments on two dockets, the descriptions in detail, which I'll read now. Docket B2601, Metro's proposed fiscal year 2027 to 2032 capital improvement program, and federal FY2027 grant applications, and docket B2602, Metro's proposed fiscal year 2027 operating budget and associated service proposals. Notice of this hearing was made by publication in the Washington Post, and ads were also placed in El Tiempo Latino, the Washington China News, the Korea Times, Washington Afro, Washington Informer, Atrif, and Daine. That was where notice was provided. Information was also provided via social media and the Transit app. Notice was also made online and sent to all jurisdictions within the Metro Compact area and to area libraries. Signs were placed in all rail stations, on buses and Metro access vehicles, and Metro Rail ambassadors provided information in person. We're looking forward to hearing from everyone who's joined us this evening to provide testimony, particularly coming, as some of you have, through the cold and the snow. Before we take testimony, we have a brief presentation from Mr. Reichert that provides details on the budget proposal along with proposed changes in service. I always think these are important just to give a little context as you come and share your thoughts with us in this public hearing. So over to you as our new Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Reichert.
Thank you. Good evening, Director Franti. Those of you who were willing to brave the ice and snow that's still out there to come. My name is Dave Rickard. As you just heard, I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of WMATA. Welcome to our public hearing. We're here to discuss an overview of the FY27 budget and service overview, but more importantly, to hear from you, your comments on our proposal. We're not taking questions live. We have teams here to answer questions in the lobby. Our strategic transformation plan for Metro is focused on three key areas: service excellence, talented teams, and financial and organizational efficiency. And those are themes that you'll hear throughout the short presentation. We're being a little cute with the y-axis here, but we've seen significant growth in Metro ridership between FY21 and 26, going from about 81 million riders in 21 to a projected 268 million this year. So it's significant growth, obviously driven by a number of factors, including the end of the pandemic, but also a number of things that Metro has brought to improve ridership and our offering to the public. Those are gains that we want to build on in the 27 budget and make sure we continue to meet riders where their needs are. As part of the 27 budget formulation process, we do a projection of ridership and revenue. The context for that this year, on the Metro bus side, we're projecting increases in revenue driven by new elements like Tap Ride Go, making it easier to pay. On the Metro Rail side, in the last few years, we saw very steep growth. We're projecting a leveling off of that, but still continued increase in ridership, some of that driven by new service offerings. I'll talk now about our service optimization plan. and I'll just sort of skip to the next slide. I'm trying to go through this quickly. There's significantly more information on this on our website, wmata.com/budget. The service proposals, the changes are modest. On the Metro bus side, there are about 19 routes where we're looking at making service improvements, whether that's increased hours or increased frequency and so forth. On the Metro rail side, we're making more investments in better all-day and late-night service. And then on some of the routes, we're looking at improving weekday rush hour trips, so a total of about 6% more daily train trips on weekdays. One of the metrics we use is the number of jobs that are accessible within a 30-minute Metro bus or Metro rail ride. A lot of people obviously take Metro bus or Metro rail or Metro access to work. That's something that's gone up 37% since FY 2020. Our plan, our projections on the 27 proposed budget is that we can get another 5% increase on that number. I'll now break down the operating budget summary and then turn to capital. So when we're building our operating budget plan, we have to incorporate a number of factors. We have bargaining unit agreements with our unions that include wage increases. We think we're going to see improvements in efficiency from some of our automation and other investments that we've made in the past. We also see fairly high Metro access cost growth. That's something that's now a couple-year pattern. We're projecting about a 13% increase in the Metro access costs. Like any company, we operate in an economic environment where we have to be sensitive to issues like inflation and energy markets and healthcare costs. What we can do on the Metro side to minimize the impact of that on riders is continuing to evolve our workforce as we evolve our offering, leveraging technology, improving and streamlining on the back end wherever we can, doing things to improve energy efficiency, to reduce costs and reduce exposure to volatility. So this is the detailed operating budget plan that shows over the past couple of years, and then the sort of fifth column in is our FY27 proposed operating budget. We've also begun providing, so the subsequent 2 years, that's not part of the proposal, it's just to give some visibility into where we see things going forward. So our FY27 proposed budget, as I mentioned, shows modest growth from FY26. At the second to last line there is the jurisdictional contribution. That's the funding that comes from DC, Maryland, and Virginia to support the operating budget. That's growing by 3% to that $1.963 billion number. And on this slide, we have that number, again, that $1.963 billion, broken out by jurisdiction and by type of service. So for bus, rail, and Metro access, broken out DC, Maryland, Virginia, and then the jurisdictions within those states, what the contribution is for FY27. Again, there's a lot more detail on the website if you're interested. So with that, I'll move to the capital plan. Last year, the WMATA advanced a proposal called DMV Moves, which envisions a capital contribution of $460 million a year from the jurisdictions above and beyond the current contributions. In the budget document, we've tried to display over a 6-year period what we can do if we get that funding and what we will be doing if we don't get that funding. So you can see on here, the difference here is over a 6-year period, an investment of about $11.3 billion versus $15.8 if we do get that additional funding, if that proposal does move forward. There are a couple of key areas I'll highlight tonight where we think that difference is going to impact how people interact with the system. And then I've got a list of all the programs that are impacted by that difference. But I'll start by calling out the 8000 series rail cars. Obviously, we need to continue to invest in the rail fleet every year. Every train that we have gets 1 year older. So we need new ones coming in the front end to maintain a viable average age of our fleet. We do, in our 6-year plan on our base budget, have a plan to acquire about 260 rail cars over that period. But that's not enough to keep our fleet modernized and where it needs to be. So we have other option periods in that contract that we can only exercise if we get the additional funding. Another example is rail modernization. We've got some pictures here of sort of what our current system looks like, developed in the 70s and 80s, versus the direction we want to go as far as modernization. Our base budget allows for significant investments in improving rail modernization along the red line. But in order to go system-wide, we're going to need that additional funding from jurisdictions over the next 6 years. And then here's a list of all the programs, and again, this is laid out in our budget document. There's sort of a high and a low scenario on each of the pages that describes these programs. But it's things like tracks and bridges and buses, and really it touches a large part of our budget, whether we can live at that higher level. Over the last 5 years, we've had tremendous success in modernizing the system, and we want to keep building on that momentum. And then I'll just wrap up with, before we turn it over to you, with how to provide comments. So you can go online, WMATA.com/budget, and submit comments that way. There's also a mechanism for providing written comments. If you provide written comments, we ask that you please reference FY2027 budget somewhere in that so we can get that routed to the right place and make sure we can be responsive to your comments. With that, I'll turn it back over to Director DeFerranti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rickard. Before we call witnesses, I want to just give a little bit of explain the testimony on the process. And I do feel that your context really helped. Having been a part of DMV Moves, it was very helpful to see that referred to, and that is certainly relevant. Process for this evening. We'll begin with speakers who have registered in advance. Please come to the podium and the microphone when I call you to speak. If you need a microphone brought to you, please raise your hand when I call your name and someone will come to you. There is for your awareness, at the podium, there is a way to lift the podium and bring it a little lower depending on your height. When I call up speakers, I'll also note the next two people in the queue, so you can be prepared to come forward when it's your turn. If you haven't yet registered and want to speak, please see staff just outside at the registration table. If you've registered in advance, make sure that you've checked in at the registration table to let us know you're here. You can watch the hearing live online at WMATA.com/budget, and the video will be archived on the Metro Forward YouTube channel. For the public record, to accurately reflect who's providing testimony, I'd ask that you please state your name and any organization you represent before you begin your testimony. Since this hearing is being recorded and will be available on YouTube, please do not provide any personal information like your address, phone number, or email in your testimony. We don't have elected officials here this evening, so I'll skip that piece. You'll hear a beep when you have 15 seconds remaining. That's your cue to sum up any remaining testimony. Extra time will be given for translation if that's needed. We ask that you stay within your time limit because we want to make sure everyone who wants to speak has a chance to be heard and is heard fairly. I also want to note that each speaker is only able to speak once at each hearing. Finally, I want to take a moment to recognize that this is where we listen to you. This is your opportunity to comment on the proposals, and we are here to listen. We will not be able to answer questions during your testimony. Metro staff is here and is available outside to answer questions. Detailed information is also available at WMATA.com/budget. Your comments will become part of the public record that will be reviewed by the Metro Board of Directors. We also have members of the board's two advisory bodies here with us this evening, the Accessibility Advisory Committee and the Riders Advisory Council, who will be listening to your testimony to help inform their recommendations on this budget. Changes to the options presented here tonight may be proposed in response to testimony received and subsequent staff analysis. And now it's time to call the first witness. As a reminder, please tell us your name and any organization you represent before you start speaking. And I believe the first speaker is Cal Simone. Come on up, Mr. Simone.
Hi there, is this working effectively?
It is,
Good.
if you could just raise, there's a little lever on the right, you can raise the microphone so we can all hear. I don't quite know how to show it to you, but
On the mic itself?
no, not on the microphone, it's to the side, you're getting a little help right
I
there.
can just hold it in my hand, how about that?
And
This is
you're
working,
getting,
oh, it's going up.
as you wish, and thank you so much for helping. Mr. Simone, go ahead.
Okay, so I am Cal Simone, I'm with the Friends of Bus Transit, and hopefully not too distantly future Riders Advisory Council member. I go to all the meetings. We're focused mainly up in deep upper northwest, west of Rock Creek, Ward 4, and that little piece of Ward 4, the little piece that's west of the park, and all of Ward 3. I have one comment and two questions. I don't know if you can answer questions during this, but the first one is that the new bus plan has people having to transfer buses to take really short trips, the total of which may be 1.5 miles. And that's, you list specific lines that you're going to deal with, but there's a coordination and transfer problem that, and I guess the budget will allow for that sort of adjustment. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I have concerns, you'll hear this from some of the other folks up in Ward 3 and Ward 4 in the other hearings, is about the dedicated funding from the 3 jurisdictions. And I understand that's not in place because all three jurisdictions are not on board. If there's anything we can do to help that along, like having our council members get involved, that would be good. And the third one is, I have a question, which is I heard you talk about full automation on the red line. I thought we were fully automated. If you're talking about doors, that's the only thing that's in between, and that might mean putting those barriers in place and things like that. I don't know. So I have more questions than I have comments. So if you, in my minute left, if you can answer any of those questions, that would be good.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Simone. We do have staff out back. We're not in a place where we can answer your questions right from the dais. We're in a listening-only mode for everything. But I will note that there are folks just outside who may be able to help with your 2 questions. And all of your comments will be reviewed and then responded to at the end not tonight, but at the end once we've collected all the comments. So I'm sorry that's where we are as far as our process tonight. Really appreciate you coming and sharing your thoughts with us.
You mean they're outside right now?
That's right. There's
Okay.
staff just outside this door, those 2 doors. If you ask them those questions, they will be able to help. They might not be able to provide every piece to every one of your questions, but they will do their best. And then we will
Okay.
collect and respond in full.
All right, well, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Simone. Next speaker.
Person may or may not be here. They signed in.
Thank you. There's a person who signed up. We're not certain if they're here. Is Frieder Goodman in the room? So not seeing Frieder Goodman, I believe that is all the speakers that we have. And I'm told that there's no one else signed up to speak. If there's anyone else present that wants to speak and hasn't already done so, please identify yourself and come to the podium. This is your chance. Going once, twice. Happy to take time if you're interested. So that was, in fact, our last speaker, which leaves more time for you, Mr. Simone, to quiz the folks who are just outside. And you will get lots of attention, if you wish, on it. The hearing is now concluded. I'm grateful to everyone who came, particularly, as Mr. Rickard noted, on a cold night and when you came through the weather. You're welcome to submit additional written testimony. It must be received by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, February 10th. Testimony can be submitted online at WMATA.com/budget. Online, you have the option to complete a survey write free-form comments, and upload a letter, petition, or other document. You can also mail testimony to Office of Board Affairs, WMATA, S.E.CT, Section 2E, I believe it is, P.O. Box 44390, Washington, D.C., 20026-4390. That's if you want to mail your testimony. All testimony must be received by 5 p.m. on February 10th. We encourage everyone to submit comments online if possible. You also have option to speak at 2 virtual hearings that will be held tomorrow at noon and Thursday at 6 p.m. Please see staff at the same registration table on your way out if you'd like to participate in any of those hearings. Information on how to register for the remaining hearings can also be found online at WMATA.com/budget. If you're planning to attend, speak at a subsequent hearing, I'll note that individuals who haven't provided testimony at prior hearings on these dockets will be given priority to speak. Thank you again for joining us and for taking the time to provide testimony. This is relatively brief. The star of the show has been Mr. Rickard, and appreciate the testimony that we heard and all that are here tonight from our 2 advisory committees, as well as Metro staff. With that, barring any indication from anyone that there is objection, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.